Hey everyone, my name is Jason Filer, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the third episode of The Afterglow. In this series, I'll be interviewing big names in barbershop world and find out the stories behind their music. For this episode, I'm excited to have on the 2024 Barbershop Harmony Society International Quartet Contest 8th place finalists, Secret Best Friends.
And when I tell them, and I'm so certainly going to tell them, I'll tell them that I'm the boy whose wife someday you'll be. They'll never believe me. No, 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 they'll never believe me. That from this great big world you have chosen me.
With their impeccable blend of voices and a knack for turning classic and modern melodies into tight harmony masterpieces, this quartet has captivated audiences far and wide. I'd like to also note they just released an incredible album called Stop Don't Panic. It's available for purchase online, and I will link that in the description. Today we'll uncover the stories behind their music, we'll explore their creative process, and we'll learn what makes their friendship and artistry so extraordinary. So, sit back and relax, there's no reason to wait any longer. Let's discover the magic behind Kevin Juliana, James Isley, James Pennington, and Will Daniel Simmons. It's Secret Best Friends. Hey guys, how's it going?
So
Hello,
good. How are
Jason.
you?
I'm so happy to hear that. So thank you guys for being a part of this. This is very exciting. So we're going to jump right in with some questions. We'll talk to some of you individually. We're going to talk about a whole quartet stuff, and then we'll have a chance to talk about the album as well, which I'm sure is a big thing for a lot of your fans and for you guys. So first of all, I just want to ask each of you, how did you get into barbershop? Just a little bit of a precursor of, what got you here to the point where you're like, I want to be in a quartet. So Will, we'll start with you.
Sure. So James Pennington and I went to high school together, and our senior year, our choir director, shout out Ryan Marsh, along with a couple of our friends, said, "Hey, I think that you guys should sing a couple of barbershop songs at our spring concert." I think it was the spring concert. And we said, "Cool, great, sounds fun." We did that. Turns out it was fun, and we kind of just got into it. We started singing with the local chapter, the Kentuckians Chorus in Lexington, Kentucky. And then I left for college, started singing with the Alexandria Harmonizers. James was among the founding members of the Kentucky Vocal Union. I eventually made my way back there, and yeah, we started there.
Awesome. James P, we'll go to you then. What do you
Yeah,
have to jump off of that?
I don't really have anything to add to that. That was pretty much my entire experience at the beginning. Yeah, I think how we got connected to how our high school quartet got connected to the local BHS chapter was, I think, it just at the first choir event that we sang at our high school. Just someone from the local chapter happened to be in attendance and tracked our quartet down afterward. I think he was like a cousin or a family friend or something of one of the other people who was in our quartet. And he offered the coaching services of the director of that course, John Nicholas. And we were like, I don't know what that means. Great, let's do it. And so through John, we got connected to the local chapter, and turned out that we liked it. We liked being involved, and that's everything else that Will Daniel just recapped kind of happened from just that total chance meeting with a random person who just happened to know what barbershop was and what we didn't know what we were doing, and connected us with someone who was eager to help us as we learned more about it.
That's awesome. Thank you. Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, that's funny. James and I have a similar story too. James Isley, that is. We both started in high school and also went to the same high school. It was James had an older brother, as well as Jordan Du Bois's brother was in a Music Man quartet, as that has brought in many people into barbershop. Did for them too. So they started singing some tags and eventually asked me to join. We put a quartet together and sang on some spring shows. Our choir director, Eric Dundor, put us in contact with the Capitol Keystone Chorus nearby in Harrisburg, and they sent a couple guys to come coach us. They eventually uh, gave us some money to go to Harmony College East, and so we met people like Gimme Four. What other quartets am I thinking of that were there? Some of Round Midnight guys.
Yeah. GQ a couple years.
Some Pratt Street Power too. Sport Sondo at the time. So super cool.
S4 Xando.
That's right. So yeah, I actually started on lead as well, and James and I eventually switched. It was the better choice for both of us, I think. And
yes.
Yeah, ever since we sang with Brothers in Arms for a long time, and did the youth college contest, and now we're here.
Awesome. Other James, how about you?
Yeah, it's funny that our quartet is such like two pairs, kind of like, I don't know, maybe 6 years apart, roughly 5-6 years apart. But it's kind of like two.
I think it's more than that. But thank you.
We'll let you decide.
Yeah. Anyway,
who came first?
A little longer than that. Anyway, we're like two multiverse versions of the same kind of story. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to add. Kevin and I grew up in Mechanicsburg, PA, a little town. Got connected with Harrisburg. Some of those guys were our first mentors. I guess I will add, Kevin and I also are both charter members of Parkside Harmony, the Hershey chapter chorus. I very vividly remember in college getting that phone call from Sean Devine, which was, we were still fresh enough in barbershop and not having ever really met anyone, let alone a gold medalist. I was definitely starstruck. And immediately after hanging up with Sean, I called, I don't know, I think everyone. I called the rest of the quartet for sure. Am I getting that wrong, Kevin?
No, I think that's right. It's just so cool because some of the tags that we found and some of the music that we sang was from groups like that we found on YouTube, like Vocal Spectrum and Ringmasters, OC Times mostly. And it was just so cool to get a call from Sean Devine. Like, what the heck? It was cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's like two pairs. How did it come together? Like, how was it secret best friends? How did that come to be? Anyone who wants to chime in on that.
I'm gonna defer to James Pennington on this one.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think I kind of became the as we brought these disparate parts together. I guess maybe for lack of a different term, I might have been at the center of all of the different spokes that were going and that all ended up coming toward the middle to form this quartet. I met James we met in 2016. I was working at Harmony Foundation in Nashville, and James got a summer internship while he was in college at the BHS, and so we were in the same building in downtown Nashville. And when James was there that summer, that's when we first met each other and got to know each other a little bit, and that's when we first sang together too. And I think it was pretty clear to us back then that we enjoyed singing together and that we had a shared, some pretty obvious shared musical interests, specifically within barbershop and within vocal music, the kinds of stuff that we listened to and talked about to each other. So that kind of planted the seed, I guess. But then James was still singing with Brothers in Arms, and then James and Kevin were in another quartet called Primetime, which I loved, and many people loved, and many people still sing their music to this day. And at one point, when it became known to me that Primetime wasn't singing together anymore, I was not in a quartet at that time. And so I was like, all right, this is my chance. Come on, we got to make it happen. So I reached out to James, and we the timing worked out that now was the time to try to put something together that we had talked about for a few years at that point. And at that point, Will Daniel had not been active in barbershop for probably almost 10 years at that point. Will Daniel and I used to sing in a quartet together many years ago in 2009, 10-ish. That quartet was called 65 South, and that quartet, Will Daniel sang tenor. And as life went on and we talked over the years, I don't remember a specific conversation where this happened, but I think it was always clear to me that Will Daniel was looking for the right opportunity to get back in, but he did not want to be singing tenor. He wanted to be singing bass, which I was like, I was like, yes, this is the thing that makes sense. This is what needs to happen. And so when James was available and interested in putting a quartet together, I was like, I got a guy. You don't know him, but I'm going to talk to him. And so that's when we got Will Daniel involved. And at that point, the first tenor of the quartet was not Kevin. We had a different tenor who sang with us for our first couple of years. It almost doesn't feel like a couple of years is a weird way to say it, because some of those years were 2020 and 2021. But yeah, we started the quartet that became Secret Best Friends in 2019. We had our first rehearsals in late 2019 and got together a few times before the pandemic forced us to stop. And yeah, I think that's kind of how it came together, was just just knowing people and knowing who was interested, and I knew enough about James and I knew enough about Will Daniel that I thought that was going to be that was going to be worth everyone's time and effort to create something that would be pretty cool for all of us. And the final piece of this all came together in 2022, when our original tenor Matt Parks left the quartet, and we were looking, and it was obvious, I think, to the three of us that Kevin would be. We kind of figured that it was going to be a perfect fit, but we didn't know until the first time that we got together with Kevin. I knew Kevin personally, and I was like, this is a great guy. I'd love to spend more time with him and get to know him better. And he's obviously an incredible singer. But until you hear the four voices together, you just, you never know. But within approximately one chord of singing together, then we knew. I was like, all right, here we go. Okay,
Yeah.
this is it. And that was on. I just looked this up the other day. It was on May 31st of 2022 was when that first the first time the night that we auditioned Kevin at James's house, just behind where his head is, and down a flight of stairs.
Awesome. Thank you. So it's been mentioned before, but can we get just a short explanation on the name just for here? Anyone want to talk about the name briefly? Whatever the short explanation of that might be.
Oh man. I think the shortest explanation is we came up with way too many names, and over months and months of leaders kind of like switching between the top 4, top 5. This was kind of the first name I think that all of us felt like worked the most. I don't know. We're very picky about everything. You'll probably get that inclination the more you talk to us about other things. But the name was no different. We just sort of made. I mean, I think at one point the list was close to 100. Most of them really, really, really bad. But you have to kind of spitball to get to something good. And yeah, Secret Best Friends felt like kind of light and a little charming and a little easygoing, which just felt like us when we hung out. It felt like us when we picked music. We wanted to kind of set the tone from the beginning that we weren't taking ourselves super seriously. It was more for the love of the music and the performance and camaraderie. And yeah, that's as short as I can make it.
Awesome. That makes sense. So the next step to all this is what led you to be like, I want to compete at the international level, all of you guys? And what was like, I need to bring this quartet to a place where we're, you know, climbing up the ranks and leading to your top 10 finish this year? What kind of prompted that? Any
I
thoughts?
think
Yeah, Kevin, go
for
ahead.
James and I, uh, since we started at Harmony College East, we didn't even know that competitive barbershop was really a thing,
Mm,
and entered our first couple contests, and it was just really fun every time. It was fun to coach. It was fun to get better. It was fun to learn more things, and that just never stopped, and wanted to keep going.
awesome.
Yeah.
That makes
I,
sense.
I would add and this might sound kind of like, I don't know, self-serving or modest or whatever, but I don't really think that I think about, and I think the quartet in general doesn't think too deeply about the like competitive part of contest. It's less about beating and more about challenging ourselves, more about seeing how good we can be, and then setting a new bar, and just sort of like being encouraged by coaches and audience members and other barbershoppers you look up to is really, I think, what fuels us in contest more than numbers or scores or placements. It's really just like getting feedback from people is kind of what drives us, what keeps us going.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, we
That's
do this
awesome.
because we love it, right? And it's super fun. And I think all of us had a chance to go to a few international contests before, just with choruses or other quartets. And it's super fun. And there are so many amazing people, and just being in that atmosphere for a week, seeing and hearing great music and meeting some wonderful people, is a really great thing to be a part of. And so I think that was just kind of a default position for us when we started, was like, well, yeah, we're going to go because we want to be there. And that's what it's about, to just like have that fun and share music with people and meet great people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I come
Sure.
back to a lot is the really cool thing that keeps me coming back to competing in barbershop is it's the audience. Like it's the one place where we as barbershoppers are, where we have the opportunity to share our music with a room full of other barbershoppers who have the same passion that we do for this style of music. So it's so cool to be able um, to go out on stage and in front of barbershoppers, whether it's in our district or at international, and to have a chance to show them what we've been working on and what we've been, the music that we've been thinking up in our heads and working on and dreaming up since the last time we saw them. And that's something that's so cool about what BHS competitions are like now, is that every quartet, it seems like every quartet that comes across the stage has such a personal version of what they want a barbershop quartet to be. And that's really inspiring to me. And I know we talk about that in our group. Like, this is our seeing all of these groups who do their own thing within the parameters of barbershop, that inspires us and that empowers us and gives us the license to go out and do what we want to do and our version of it. And it's really cool. And without the hook of barbershop competition as we know it, it would just be a little bit, it would be whatever we would be doing, it would be slightly different because of it. So I think that the competition is, it's important to us, not for competitive reasons, but for performance related reasons.
Yeah,
Agreed.
that makes so much sense. I love what you said about, just like people bringing their own things about barbershop into the stage. And you guys have definitely done that with a lot of your performances. And it's so cool to see you and everyone else do that also. What kind of rehearsal processes do you guys have? Like in terms of how, far apart, how often do you rehearse, kinds of things you do in rehearsal, based on what you might have to do depending on how far away you are, how often you get to rehearse. What does that look like for you guys? Anyone who might have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, that has really evolved over time and over the life of the quartet. When we first
Journey.
started, yeah, when we first started, half of us, so James Isley and I were in Maryland, and James Pennington and Matt at the time were in Tennessee. And so, for that first, well, again, it's kind of hard to say for the first couple of years because that was like 3 rehearsals. But for the first couple of years, we kind of got together very rarely, and like we would fly out one direction or the other for a long weekend of really exhausting rehearsal, and try to fit in some like fun time and relaxing and getting to know each other a little bit better and all of that. And then once Kevin started in the quartet, that was a couple years ago at this point, we now had 3 people, within a couple hours. And then James Pennington moved to Maryland a little over a year and a half ago. And so we are now all within a couple hours, which is, and well, and
Nice.
actually Kevin just moved also even closer. So now we're all within an hour. And that totally changes the nature of the way that you rehearse, right? Because I think when you're so far apart, so much of your time is really necessarily, if you're doing contest at all, it's really spent preparing specifically for those contests, right? And like also learning music and learning how to sing it together for the first time or for your 3rd rehearsal or whatever. And being closer together, I think has allowed us to work on our kind of fundamental sound and approach our rehearsal process in a very different way. So yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the season now, right? Right. The 6 weeks or 8 weeks leading up to, say, the international contest look very different, probably from other parts of the year where there's no contest in the immediate future. So I think leading up to this past convention in Cleveland, we're something like rehearsing once a week. And I would say for the rest of the year, we try to keep it, a couple times a month. But again, it kind of depends on where we are, what else we have going on in our lives, and what our kind of goals are for the upcoming season. I don't know. Anybody else have anything to add to that?
That's kind of it. Yeah, we try to rotate back and forth a little bit, but again, we're within an hour now, so it's been really nice. Proximity is such a key factor to rehearsal, and the thing that I think back on rehearsing once every 3 months maybe, and having to fly out for long weekends is like you lose so much momentum having to wait multiple months before seeing those guys again, and sort of like remembering what you did. And you can only spend so much time listening to rehearsal track before you start just like kind of driving yourself mad. So it really, I would attribute a lot of our recent success to just proximity is super helpful. Being able to see each other more often, and also having weeknight rehearsals that are just like 2 hours and then you go home, versus what we were trying to do before, which was, legitimately singing for 12, 15, sometimes like it felt like we're singing for 3 days straight and then getting on a plane and going home. I mean, you're just a shell of a person after that much rehearsal. So yeah, that's kind of the general, I guess, the timing of rehearsals. Our rehearsal planning itself, our rehearsal sort of like schedule, I guess, also kind of just depends on what we're preparing for. We've tried to be as sort of anal about planning our priorities for rehearsals, which I do think helps. We'll often, a couple days before rehearsal, put together a small sheet of like what songs we want to hit and what's upcoming and any sort of specific exercises, or if there's duetting we want to do. There's a lot to be said about kind of like running a quartet like a little bit like a business, as much as you can without ruining the joy, the friendship of it all. There's taking the burden off of the 4 of us to sort of like improv our way through a rehearsal is really helpful. Like we've definitely settled into a really nice groove of here's what we're doing in 4 days, and you can kind of like think about, all right, Wednesday night rehearsal, this is what I need to be, up on. Yeah, that's been super helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. What kind of stuff have you guys like especially learned from some of your coaches or from each other, like in terms of like actual quartet performance, like sort of specific things that you guys have really thought about from coaches?
Mm.
I will say that we have a handful of coaches who are really important to us and our growth on a regular basis. One pattern that has really worked for us, I would say, over the past year and a half or so, is we identified a need to really solidify a lot of fundamental aspects about how we sing together. What is our ensemble, and how do we really fortify the foundation that is our ensemble, so that we can build from there. We were just kind of four people singing together for the first, I would say probably the first 6 months or so that Kevin joined the quartet, and it wasn't any different before then. And once we were all over on the East Coast and we were rehearsing more regularly, we had an opportunity in front of us to say, okay, this is if we want to create more impact with our music, then that starts with the foundation of our ensemble. And so that's the first time that we talked with Steve Scott, who is a brilliant, amazing coach and is a very important person to our quartet. And we're kind of in this pattern ever since then, where we'll kind of show Steve what we're working on. We'll talk with him. He'll share some thoughts about what he thinks some next steps for our quartet might be, some technique based things for us to accomplish as a quartet that might help us achieve more impact with our sound. And we'll have a coaching session with Steve on Zoom, and Steve will take our brains out of our head and beat them on the table and ring them out over the sync, and then he'll gently and very politely put our brains back into our heads. We'll go to sleep, not really understanding what has happened. Over the next several weeks, we'll fight with it, and then we'll show up 1 week to rehearsal and be like, "Oh, we did this. This is just, now we have done this. Great, and now we can go from here." So over the past 18 months or so, that's kind of been the pattern. Is Steve will give us a concept, we'll work on it on our own time. We'll send clips to him. We'll work with our other coaches, Melody Hine and Joe Cerruti locally for the most part, and we'll work on other things. We'll pick up new songs. We'll apply new concepts to older songs, and all the while we're kind of always filtering in whatever new singing concepts we have from Steve. And then there will be a time when Steve is like, "I think you've done it. Here's the next thing." And we're like, "All right, here we go. Okay." So
It's always more.
There is always more. There is always more. And it's a really cool thing about being part of this group, and the fortune that we've had in surrounding ourselves with brilliant, perceptive coaches like Steve, is their perspective on our ensemble. They're looking out for, like, they have our best interest in mind, and they know what we want our group to be, but they have their own perspective on, here's how I think that you can take this to the next level, and here's how I think you can achieve more of what you want to achieve by applying these principles or these concepts. So that's kind of an undercurrent of our rehearsals always, is kind of what's the concept that we're trying to build on right now. And then as we do that, we have new music or older music or whatever else it is that's the framework for how we're applying these concepts through these songs.
Awesome. Thank you. So this is a little bit more out there, but I've heard of things from other quartets about like pre-show rituals. Do you guys have anything like that where you're like, we gotta do some sort of thing just to make sure that we're gonna sing well if we do this thing or whatever? It could be normal, strange, or anything at all, or just sort of go up there and sing.
Yeah, I don't think we have any real rituals.
I don't in general.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh.
R.I.P.
Oh,
Kevin.
one of our rituals is to pull the plug on Kevin's modem.
Kevin, I think we might
Good
have
times.
lost you.
He's gonna say something really good, I bet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
think
that? I don't think we really do.
I think that the only thing that I would even come close to calling a ritual is just kind of our normal warm-up process, right? Like we have a set warm-up that we do,
Oh, he's back.
that helps
Sorry, go ahead.
helps us just kind of remember what it feels like to sing together and kind of activate that muscle memory. So we have the warm-up that we do. I would say, if we're in a warm-up room before we go on stage or something, we'll do some starts of the songs and maybe a few transitions of stuff. And I will say I don't love spending a ton of time in a warm-up room because I just want to go out there and do it. Yeah, those are the only things I can think of that would even come
I
close.
I like to kick over chairs sometimes. It
You
helps
do,
me to
yes.
That's
I was gonna say-
a new habit.
a little
Yeah,
bit of
Kevin, what were you
adrenaline is good for me. Go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry, I was gonna say before my internet died. The four of us are not generally like aggressive people, and I think we try our best to become more aggressive people, to be more confident and such as we're all walking around in circles and telling each other how good we are and like really getting the masculine energy on. Like James, for instance, kicks down chairs and Will Daniel just starts yelling typically. And I don't know what else we do, but
Screaming,
a mix of those
absolutely
kinds of
Is that a
screaming.
things.
pattern?
Right
Yeah,
before the
yeah.
stage too, behind the curtain. It's all. If there's a chair, it will be kicked over.
Watch out.
I will say
Watch out,
I will say
chairs.
that one thing that I really enjoy about, and this is specifically for contests, and this doesn't happen at international just for logistical reasons or whatever, but we've kind of gotten in this habit of when we're competing at like our district contests, our whole families are with us, like in our warm-up rooms all the way to the last possible ready room right before we go on stage. I don't know when we even really kind of formalize that as what we want to do. I don't remember ever talking about it. If we did, we may have. But it's really fun to, like, we're all in our suits and we're going to go sing our two songs for that round of competition. And it's great that, like, all of our significant others and more recently even my toddler, like, everyone's just in the warm-up room just kicking around. We'll sing an intro or we'll sing a tag or whatever to one of the songs that we're going to sing in the competition, but otherwise we're just kind of staying loose and staying out of James's way if he's going to kick a chair or a tree or whatever. And
Watch some Bluey,
but it's
some Mickey Mouse, whatever.
yeah,
Then
we had
do another
yeah,
round.
yeah, we had some. We did. I think we had some Bluey at our prelim before international this year.
Great show.
But I
Just stay
really
loose.
value that. It's
Yeah.
really it really helps us. Like, we take it seriously, the opportunity to perform for our fellow barbershoppers and to participate in competitions, but it's not a thing that is we take. I know that I've been part of groups before where it's like, all right, we got to go out there, we got to sing the notes, we got to sing all the chords, we got to get the plan right, and that never is a satisfying result for it. It never was for me anyway, and that's something that I really value about singing with this group, is that that's just part of our routine. Like, that's that emphasis on family and enjoying those moments together as an entire, not just the four of us, but nine of us. is that's a really cool thing, and I don't take it for granted.
Yeah. Awesome. That's more than I thought would happen for that question, but I'm glad to hear all that stuff. So a little bit about the specific songs. I was wondering because I haven't really heard about this. I've sort of looked around and I saw that James Isley, you had said on the webcast that the Upato, I think is how it's pronounced, it was something that you had found and that you had found from the, I think, the High Lows album. And that sounds super
Yeah.
cool. The arrangement is so awesome. I'm wondering, did you, because of how you know how much closely related you were to that song, did you have anything to do with like the choreography, or how did the choreography sort of come about? Because that's something you don't normally see in a lot of uptunes, like the sort of very specific stuff going around. So what's the story with that?
Yeah. Oh man, that choreo, the sort of like tag end of the choreo, is something we added very last minute. That was, I think, the last rehearsal before international, pretty much the last or the second to last before we left for Cleveland. So I mean, we all had a lot to do with that. That was a very, we'd gotten the specific feedback a couple times from judges that Upato felt like there was some real silliness to it that we just weren't fully committing to from the beginning.
Hmm.
And part of that, I think, part of our fix for that was to just be way more silly with the physicality and some of the choreography. And the song is it's a bossa nova, and the song is about dancing, and the song is about dancing to a samba, and we're singing. So I mean, there was just too many pieces of the song that would encourage dancing to feel like we shouldn't at least be moving our bodies in some way that felt like dancing. We pretty soon
Hmm.
discovered that we're not all great at dancing, but we can fake it. And yeah, I don't know. That was kind of a collaboration on the four of us when we really just were like, again, as Kevin said, none of us are super, I wouldn't say like cocky or loud performers naturally, like physically, but I think we kind of challenged ourselves to match the mood of the song a little more, and just kind of like be silly with it, do some dancing, do some embarrassing ourselves a little bit on purpose, and it worked.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super fun to watch. I think that was my favorite song for your contest. Um, so you guys
Nice.
have a very like, sort of friendly and inviting persona on stage, especially. And, your arrangements are, a lot of them are like sort of newer, stretching some of the limits, especially with like the style. Like you said, the bossa one, you don't see a lot of bossa on the contest stage. A lot of chords that are a little more on the really cool side, if that makes sense. So, I'm wondering sort of is like the combination of that sort of style plus like the very friendly and like open and inviting image. Is that something that you guys sort of consciously thought about as like this is what we're going to be, or is it sort of just like what ended up happening as you guys sort of went around multiple contest cycles?
That's a good question. I think it's both, right? I think James Isley said at the beginning, we do take the choices that we make really seriously and put a lot of thought into things. Um, and I think that's true, from the music that we choose to how we choose to bring that music to life to what we wear or what we decide to call our album, or all of those things are all part of the same package, right? They're part of the same kind of identity that we have, and it's all kind of something that we put thought into and want to be proud of and want to be happy with. um I will say, I think some of it is just like it's stuff that we come by naturally, I guess. Like we all really like being together. We love spending time together. I think, James was talking about being with our families, and I think from the outset of this quartet, like that was a big priority for all of us. This is something that obviously takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and work if you're wanting to share your music widely and spend a lot of time doing it. And so it's important to us that it's fun. And so I think that a lot of the choices that we make really are kind of born of answering those questions of like, does this make sense for us? Does this work with the thought processes that we typically follow? Are we going to have fun with this? Are the audiences seeing this going to have fun with it? All of those kind of things. So I'm glad that it comes off as welcoming and happy, because that's the way we want it to be. That's the way that we want people to feel what we're doing, and that's the way that we feel about it. So yeah, a combination of the things.
Yeah, I think what I'll add to that is we've heard from a lot of folks, especially when we were first starting to get in front of live audiences in 2022. We would hear from a lot of judges or just friends in the audience that our quote unquote non barbershop music was like, some people weren't as blunt in saying it this way, but we were a lot better at singing the non barbershop stuff than we were the barbershop stuff. And so we so as we have over the past few years, as we have cycled more songs into our rep that we intend to use in contests, the people who we work with are our arrangers. They know that they're familiar with the kinds of voicings and the kinds of chords and the kinds of moments that we naturally have an instinct to bring to life, and that are natural to us. Goodbye, Kevin.
I think he was frozen for a while.
Yeah, he was very still. So yeah, as time has gone on, our arrangers have a good sense of when to deploy little special moments that you might not hear in a typical barbershop chart that you would just find off the shelf. I had this conversation, and both of you, James and Will Daniel, might have been around when we saw Justin Miller did an arrangement for us. Justin, the director of Vocal Summit in Oregon, the former director of Westminster. We worked with Justin on an arrangement that we debuted in Cleveland at the BHS convention just a few weeks ago. And we never really had this conversation with Justin about that, but he knew just by listening to us, both some of our previous contest songs and I guess some songs that we have never sung in contest. Just by listening to that, Justin had an idea for some things that he wanted to do that he thought might highlight our ensemble and might feature us both as a quartet and individually, that he probably wouldn't have written into a chart for his chorus or any other whatever other group, which is a pretty cool thing that these people, these brilliant, perceptive people who we have the great fortune of working with, it's cool that they pick up on that. I don't know. That's a cool thing that Justin would just like. One example that he used specifically. I don't think this song is on YouTube yet. The song that Justin arranged for us is called "Then I'll Be Tired of You." Yeah. And Justin was like, no other group that would have asked me to do this song. I've just started you. The very first chord of this song is this really tight sixth chord, and he was very animated in how he described this, and I was like, yes, you get it, thank you. We'll sing the tight sixth chords and all the 13th chords and all the other stuff that he threw in there that we really love digging into, that kind of all add up to whatever it is that we call our sound or our style or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was one of the arrangements that made me ask that, because I definitely heard a lot of things in there that was like, wow, this is something that I wouldn't really hear any group do, especially like, maybe you'll hear one group do it, like not for a contest, but it's like, hey, we're just trying this arrangement, it might be cool, but you guys do it on the contest stage and it's really appropriate and it really kills it. So one more question before we get to the album. Yeah, of course. So this is something that I'm just sort of wondering as a personal thing, but also I've had some people wonder about this too. You guys, I mean, obviously the finals this year, which you were able to perform at, which was super fun to see, was infused with comedy. And you guys got a, mention from the Newfangled Four, as did everyone. And then you, in return, mentioned the Newfangled Four in one of your songs. Was that a planned thing? Was that a last minute thing? Like, oh, we should do this because it'd be fun? Like, how did that sort of come about?
very last minute. Yeah. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a hotel. That was a hotel thought on that James Pennington brought the joke to us.
yeah, we
Seems to be
in
a
this.
trope.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know that until we got off stage, and everyone was like, "There's another joke." It's like, well, we didn't know. I don't know, man. Come on, we've been backstage getting ready. But yeah, we had the song that we sang in the finals. Everybody Eats When They Come to My House was the song, which we've performed a number of times at BHS over the years. And I don't know, I was just like, this is already a joke song. Let's just name them by name and have a
Yeah.
little fun with it. And it was fun and silly, and they're the kings. It's a real pleasure to be able to punch up toward the newfangled guys. Very cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, so let's talk about the album. So you guys have put out an album, not on streaming platforms. You know, you can buy it exclusively online. I'm gonna have links to all that stuff in the description, just so you all know and just
Oh,
everyone
great.
knows. So
Amazing.
go to the description if you're interested. It's really awesome. I got it and I listened to it, and it's so incredible. My favorite one is Nancy. That one is so much fun, and the clarinet solo
Nice.
really adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. I wonder just sort of how did the idea of being like, we're gonna make an album, we're gonna put it out, but we're gonna put it out this way. How did that sort of whole thing exist from, you know, just the original thought of it?
I think recording was always kind of inevitable, especially when we started to really rehearse more often with Kevin. I think something that just sort of, well, even before Kevin, that was something that was probably on our list. Um, of a this would be fun, you know. I don't know who wouldn't want to record an album. It's just fun. It seems like the next logical step of sort of like memorializing a this is what our quartet sounded like at this time, and being able to kind of send that out to everyone and let everybody. It's also fundraising, which is nice. But yeah, James Pennington really was the machine behind that album idea, and we kind of kicked it around for a while before he found a grant, which James, you can talk a little more about. But there was a local grant in Annapolis that he applied for, I think twice. You know, it took two applications, 2 cycles of applications, and then we got awarded the grant for some cash to start an album. And that was kind of like, all right, well, now we really got to do it. It's not just a wish list item anymore. Now we got this money, and there's some stipulations. And yeah, James, you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, yeah, we got a grant through when we had it was always in the back of our minds that, you know, we wanted to be a group that that made albums at some point. And like James said, the impetus was we got some money to do it. Grant writing is what I do professionally, and so I became aware of a grant that might be good for us through excuse me, through the Maryland State Arts Council. There's a tip for you folks out there. The government is always trying to give you money, so find your local or state arts councils and go take it. So we applied for a grant. We applied for it. I think that was probably last year, 2023, in September or October, something like that. And they said, this is good. It's not there yet. Here are some notes. Reapplied next month. And we did. And they gave us the money. And we're like, all right, now we have to do a lot of work. But that grant was it was $4,000 from the state of Maryland. And that really gave us the opportunity to put together a plan of okay, now this is real. What do we want? What is our vision for what a Secret Best Friends album might sound and look like? And so that's kind of how it all began, and we started putting the pieces together. Our engineer, mixer, masterer, all of the above, Josh Arizmendi. We've worked with Josh as pretty much as long as we've been a quartet. Josh mixed some pandemic projects that we did. Josh also had us contribute a song to his Kicking Back to Barbershop charity compilation that he recorded at the 2023 convention in Louisville. Is that right? Yeah. And so like we always knew if we're gonna, whenever we record our first album, Josh is going to be there with us, and we wanted to do it as live as possible. So after all this planning and all of this, all of these, this what felt like an insane, fundraising and marketing and planning and logistics and all of this stuff. After all of that, the album is pretty much, we rented a studio for 2 days and we sang a whole bunch of songs, and that's what you hear. We recorded it on May 3rd and 4th of 2024, and the album was out for the whole world on June 7th. So it was, after all this work, it was a pretty quick turnaround. I think we attribute that to, it was a pretty simple process in terms of editing and mixing on Josh's end. Just because it was just us, singing around a pair of microphones pretty much. And then from there, it was pretty straightforward to get it out into people's hands. So it was a really amazing learning experience. I know for myself and for all of us. We have a template for the next time, which is cool. Because a lot of the work and a lot of the thought that went into this album was just, we've never done this before, and so now we have, which is cool. And Jason, I appreciate you.
Sure.
Yes, yes, we got to learn some new songs first. But I appreciate what you said, Jason, about Nancy, and being able to bring in Eddie to guest on that one on clarinet. That's a really neat thing that we've had a chance to do live with Eddie on a handful of occasions over the past few years, is perform that song with him. And Eddie is just he's an amazing guy and an amazing musician. And that's kind of an undercurrent of our whole quartet, is we like doing cool things with our friends. So like all the people who worked on this album, they're all barbershop people. They're all our friends. Eddie was our guest musician. Josh, our engineer, and everything else that we already said. Josh is a barbershopper. Our coach and producer, Melody Hine, she arranged probably half the songs on the album. Our photographer, Juno Steinel, they are a member of Parkside Melody, and an awesome quartet, Midnight Society, in the Mid-Atlantic District. So like everyone that we worked with on this album is like, it's our friends, and it's cool to be able to do that. That's so to be able to put this whole thing together and to do it with all these people we didn't just hire out musicians or whatever else. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it made it that much more fun and special to be able to do it with people who are meaningful in our lives otherwise.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all the information. And as I said before, I'm going to put all that stuff in the description, because as of right now, you can't get on streaming platforms because it is helpful for them to pay them directly on Bandcamp, is the way I got it. I also saw you guys got a test pressing of the vinyl. How that seems very exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, James has it.
Yeah, this just came in the mail yesterday.
I'm so jealous.
Test pressings. I'm going to make sure all right. My address is not on here. We're good. It's right here. This is not what the final product will look like, but just a little test pressing if my camera will focus. Yep, stopped opening.
Nice.
Secret Best Friends,
Wow.
SBF 001. So yeah, this is very cool. The vinyl edition. You can pre-order the vinyl on our website, sbfquartet.com/album, and it comes with a download of the album. So yeah, well, it'll be on Spotify next summer, but we want a year to try to make back as much money on our investment as we can. And we try to price it so that people can to remove as much of an accessibility barrier as we can. So you can go download it for as little as $8 for 9 songs of some barbershop.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to do one very, very, very quick thing toward the end. It's all the who's most likely to, just to get a little bit sense of like what kind of stuff's going on in like the quartet. We don't have everyone, but it's fine. Just like I'll say like who's most likely to something, and then just hold up like a 1, 2, 3, or 4 for tenor, lead, Barry, bass, just so you get a sense of like who you think is most likely to what, and then we'll see if you guys agree. All right. The first one is who's most likely to sleep in way too late.
Oh no, we're
look,
just picking on
here
Kevin.
he is.
He's not here to defend
Is he
himself,
in?
but it's true. There's
No, he's asleep. He's asleep right now. That's why.
Oh, he's joining right now, actually.
Oh, is he? Oh, hi,
Kevin.
Speak of the devil.
Kevin, can you hear us? Are you awake?
Yeah.
Hi, Kevin.
Back.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Kevin.
Awesome.
Jason had a question for the quartet that I'm interested in what your answer would be.
Oh boy. Okay,
yeah.
I'm ready.
I was just wondering who everyone thinks sleeps in way too late most of the time.
Why are you asking me that question, my friend James
So
Pennington?
We already gave our answers.
We're doing a little game. So just who's most likely to, and then just hold up 1, 2, 3, or 4 for tenor, lead, Barry, or bass based on who you think is most likely to. And I won't spoil what everyone said for that last question. Okay.
He knows.
For the next one, who's most likely to sing the right notes 100% of the time? 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Ooh,
Interesting.
Wow.
Very interesting.
I guess that means that you're all pretty good. That's nice. All right. Who's most likely to obsess over the scores of the contest and the numbers and the charts and the data? Okay, you all agree?
Yeah.
That's fun. I'm the same way. I
think I'm the competitive one.
There's got to be someone. Okay, the last one is who's most likely to want to go sightseeing instead of rehearsing at conventions?
Sightseeing.
Maybe.
I guess me. I don't know.
Kevin is the most. I only say Kevin because he's the most likely to stay up late and hanging out with people in the lobby. That's not really sightseeing.
Oh, that's true.
But
sightseeing with people at barbershop conventions.
Sightseeing the inside of a hotel ballroom.
I always find that Will Daniel just knows so many things about the area that we're in, no matter where we're at.
That's true.
So
That's true.
It's like, yeah, you've probably been here and already done the sightseeing. Yeah.
All right, that's funny. Well, all right, that was fun. Thank you. Just people just get a little bit of sense of what you guys are like outside the competition. So, but thank you guys so much for being here. This was so much fun. Again, links to the album and everything like that are in the description, and also I'll link a few performances that are online. And I'm sure more performances of you guys from this previous convention will come out in the next few weeks, months. We'll see that.
Yeah.
This was a great time. Thank you to all 4 of you. Then had a great time. I hope that everyone will continue watching the series. There'll be more in the future. So thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having
Jason.
us.
Thank you so much.